Welcome to Addicted to Quitting, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of breaking free from bad habits by becoming addicted to the benefits of quitting the habits that no longer serve us. I am your host, Gentry, a divorced mom of 4 boys, certified public accountant, and a certified life and recovery coach living a sober lifestyle since May 1st of 2018. Join me today for episode 5, where we talk about the Karpman Drama Triangle and how it affects your recovery and also your relationships. I'm excited to get into how helping you overcome the obstacles of this trauma triangle. So join me today as we explore the power of becoming addicted to quitting and unlocking your true potential. This is Addicted to Quitting, the podcast that empowers you to break free, embrace change, and thrive. Let's get started on this transformative journey together. Today's topic is the Karpman Drama Triangle. So I talked to you guys on my Instagram, Life with Gentry, about being in a new relationship. And I asked if you guys would like some more information about things that we've been learning in therapy. So if you followed me on social media, if you kind of followed along on my story, I recently met somebody in August. And when we decided to start dating in October, we actually started going to couples therapy, like literally going to couples therapy before we even were like full-blown couples, because we decided that we were bringing a lot of baggage into our relationships from past relationships, and we wanted to create a space that was going to grow and be successful, and we didn't want to wait until it was falling apart from like our past traumas and our past like just triggers and things that we didn't even realize that we're doing, because what happens is that we become so subconsciously wired sometimes that we don't even realize we're self-sabotaging. We don't even realize that we're hurting ourselves or that we're hurting the people around us, because it's just what we've done to survive. And so we decided that we really liked each other. we really wanted to make this work. And so we started going to therapy. And something that I have been talking to my therapist about, because we work with the same therapist individually, and then we work with her together, is the drama triangle. So the Karpman Drama Triangle is a social model of human interactions proposed by San Francisco's psychiatrist Stephen B. Karpman in 1968. I feel like a lot of the research that I do tends to fall back to like the 1960s and 70s. I don't know if like they were just doing like a ton of research around that time, or if like that's just where like I'm an old soul. But I do want to state that like I am a certified public accountant. I am a certified life and recovery coach. I am not like a scientist. I'm not running experiments of my own, and stuff that I talk about are things that I've just learned that have helped me on my journey. So I'm just saying like, hey, I learned about this. This is what helped me on my journey. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to do. I'm not telling you I have any qualifications. I'm just saying, hey, this worked for me, and I want to see if it would work for you. Like, I want to share this with you, because it could work for you as well. So understanding this Karpman Drama Triangle really helped me understand myself and my habits and patterns a little bit better. So what it is it's a model that describes the roles people unconsciously adopt in dysfunctional interpersonal dynamics, and it consists of 3 roles. So we have the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. Also could be the victim, the villain, and the hero. The victim feels powerless and blames others for their problems. The persecutor criticizes and blames the victim, while the rescuer tries to solve the victim's problem but often perpetrates the cycle. So this is like the hero typically is like the enabler, kind of like, oh, I'm gonna rescue you, I'm gonna make it better, I don't want anyone to feel pain, and I'm gonna be the hero, and I'm gonna feel good about being the hero, but really I enabled you to continue to be the victim. So these roles can shift in all different ways, right? So like I could in one moment be the victim, and then in that victim role feel validated to become the villain and start yelling and lashing out and saying nasty things, because I felt like it's justified to switch roles, because you were a villain to me, so now I'm going to turn around and be the villain to you. Now you're the victim, and then I feel bad, so now I'm the hero and want to make you feel better. So it's a really, really unhealthy cycle, and you don't need 3 people to be involved in this. You just 2 people can kind of go into this cycle of like switching within the roles. So what I've learned is that I'm really good at being the victim. And so I'm just going to explain to you guys or share with you guys some things that I've learned on my journey while bringing awareness to the Karpman Drama Triangle. And what I've learned is that I was really, really good. And I think women more likely, actually, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that men and women can fall into this victim role. But what we do first is we want to be the victim so that we either could be the hero or the villain. We want to feel justified to be like, look at me, I'm being so nice, I'm being so helpful, or I'm feeling justified in treating other people poorly because I was wrong to myself. So as an alcoholic, I realized that if I could kind of pull people in, like bring in my codependent army to feel bad for me. Like poor me. Alcohol is so like I'm a victim of alcoholism, and it's hard. It's so hard to be addicted to alcohol, and poor me, right? I had people that would enable me and be like, it is hard. I feel bad for you. This is really, really bad. And then I had people that would see me drunk and get mad at me, and it's like, but you don't understand. It's so hard. And then an enabler being like, oh, I know, I get it. I feel bad for you. Poor you. Enable, blah, 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 blah. And we just got in this really, really toxic cycle. I also was really good at being the hero in my situation of like, I'm trying. Like, I like to pretend like I was being some sort of, in my own way, being some sort of like hero of trying to get sober, right? Like, I'm doing my best to show up for myself and blah, 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 blah. But really never actually getting above the line and just being like, here's what I'm going to do to take care of myself. It was more like, I'm just going to pretend like I'm taking care of myself. Also the villain of just kind of downplaying how bad my alcohol was. Like, you guys are making such a big deal about nothing. It's not that big of a deal. I'm fine. Like, really going after people to protect my addiction, to protect my behavior of wanting to continue this unhealthy cycle. So I would go in between all of these roles depending on what codependent army I had around me. So who I could manipulate and how I could manipulate them would determine how I was going to play this role. And I got sober May 1st of 2018. And then I started a relationship, which one of my topics that I have like on my topic list for this podcast is like 3 things to not do in the first bit of sobriety. And one of them is get into a relationship. It was a really, really ugly, unfortunate situation. I'm not proud of how it played out. I was married, and I was unhappy in my marriage. I asked for a divorce, and I immediately started another relationship. And I was only like 90 days sober, you guys. It was like such a hot mess. It was so bad. Anyways, but don't get in a relationship in new recovery. There's just so much you need to learn. There's so much healing you got to do. And I do think, like, as I talked about with my boyfriend now and us deciding to do therapy together, we had to do so much work on our own, but also there's things that are going to trigger you once you get into relationships, but you really have to still do that work on your own. Like we had both been putting in work to kind of like learn ourselves a little bit better. He took a 15-month break from dating. Even like he might have been like casually talking but didn't actually date anyone for 15 months to just really focus on himself. He worked with therapists, he worked with counselors. I was working with a therapist again, and I took a break from like having any like close relationships, but there is that period of time that you need to work on yourself. So once I got sober, I really wish I would have taken that time to work on myself, but I didn't. I got into a relationship right away, and the same type of toxic, chaotic behavior I had around drinking, I just really switched that addiction to this relationship. Like, I used to love to be the victim of situations where if he was aggressive or if he was said something that was hurtful, instead of being like, hey, I'm going to just stick to logic. I'm going to stick to good communication. I'm going to stick to working through this the way that my boyfriend Will and I are working on in therapy now, of like how to stay above the line and have these conversations without losing our minds. Instead, I'd be like, oh, well, great. I get to be the victim. And as soon as I got to be the victim, I got to bring in my codependent army, which is my girlfriends. Hey, girlfriends. He's being so mean to me. He's being so mean. And they all love to co-sign that, right? Like, we love a little bit of drama in our lives, and boys probably do too, but girls especially. I could always find somebody to come in and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that, blah, 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 blah. And I would like get high off of this. And I think that what I've learned from studying the drama triangle is that this is an addiction to a behavior that I had to work through. And it wasn't like alcohol is an addictive substance. Alcohol is definitely um, ingesting it cause chemical issues in your brain. Again, not a scientist. Go watch sober powered podcast with Jill. She will give you all the science behind all that. But it does. It messes with your brain. It messes with your chemicals. It messes with your dopamine. It messes with your body, which makes it addictive. But it's not just that actual consuming of alcohol. It was that I had gotten addicted to certain behaviors. And I think that we don't realize this as a society, that we can get addicted to certain behaviors because of habits like being formed. Like we get comfortable doing certain things because it's kept us alive, but not necessarily because it's really serving us. Hence why we are getting addicted to quitting, where we're quitting things that no longer serve us. Like first I quit alcohol, then I quit being inconsistent, then I quit. Then I really, like 2 years into my recovery is when I started to kind of really look at this relationship stuff and be like, man, this is psycho. Like I get psycho. I get devastated. I get so out of balance from relationships. Like this isn't healthy, right? So it took a couple years before me to address that I had an unhealthy relationship and unhealthy addiction to the highs and lows of relationships. But I did, like the behavior became a coping mechanism, came a skill, so it came something that I was doing repeatedly because it was just, it would be, I was addicted to the pattern. I was addicted to the behavior. I was in the cycle of the habit, like loop with it, right? Like it wasn't serving me, but it was something I was used to doing. So I just kept doing it. And it took time to be able to unwind that. But I really noticed it in the relationship where I'm have these high highs. I want him to, he's mean, or he said something that I thought was mean, and I was quick to be the victim, and then he would be my hero and make me feel better, and then I would feel justified, and it was just this really really toxic cycle. So what do we do if we find ourselves in these kinds of toxic cycles? Because um first step is like awareness, right? Like you're learning today what the Karpman Drama Triangle is, and now you're going to start to be aware. But what do you do to be able to find that awareness, to be able to make changes? And one of the things you could do is start identifying the roles. So recognize if you're playing the victim, if you're playing the villain, if you're playing the hero. The hardest one for people to identify is the persecutor or villain. I remember when I was working with a therapist and I was explaining this story, and I was like, I like, this is the situation, and I reached out. This is how toxic I was, you guys. I hope my boyfriend's not listening. Actually, I would tell him this story too. He knows I was toxic. Or maybe you relate to the story, and let's listen to this. So I reached out to the drama triangle boyfriend that I had, um, to somebody else outside of our relationship to try and prove to them that he was doing things and being not nice and wasn't a good guy and blah 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 blah, like totally toxic. And when I'm telling my counselor about this, I was like, I I had to let them know I was the hero. I'm being the hero. I'm saving them from this chaos that I am now experiencing. And they're like, no, you're the villain. You're the villain. You are the one stirring the pot. You are the one stepping into things that's none of your business. You are the one that is causing the chaos because you are addicted to the chaos, and so you are the villain in this situation. And that was like mind blowing to me, because I was like, I'm the victim. He was mean to me, and now I'm the hero to this other person, so that they could, like, I'm justified. And it's like, no, I felt justified in being a villain because of my role as a victim. And really, we never need to do that. Like, I just was like, now be like, oh my gosh, I'm totally not even invested in that. Like, somebody accused me recently of tampering with their shit, and because of a past, and I was like, I have no desire to be a villain in anybody's story. I have no desire to even give two shits about anybody else, but like what I'm trying to do and focus on my kids and my health. And it might sound selfish, but I don't get in drama. I don't talk about other people, outside of like, oh, that's cool, so and so did that or whatever, but I don't talk about them in a way to entertain myself, right? Like, I just have really worked hard to follow the 4 agreements, to stay above the line, to not fall into this drama triangle of needing to be somebody's villain or need somebody's hero and rescue them and enable them, or be a victim. Like, I really, really have worked hard to stay above that. And the way I've done that is I had to identify the roles I was playing. I had to identify like when I was sinking into these roles. So being able to constantly catch yourself when, like, if your energy, if your emotions, like if you're not able to regulate your emotion, there's a really good chance that you're sinking down into this kind of like drama triangle. You're wanting to feel bad because you think someone's attacking you. Again, 4 Agreements, it's a great book to help you kind of like stay above this. Like, don't take anything personal. Have integrity with your words. What's the other? Don't take anything personally. Have integrity with your words. Worry about yourself, basically. You guys? I just talked about this. Always do your best. Oh, and don't make assumptions, right? So like when we're making assumptions, when we're not having integrity with our words and gossiping outside of the situation, when we're taking things personally, right? We're choosing to be in this drama triangle. We're choosing to be a victim. We're choosing to be the villain by talking about it, by causing more drama. You really have to bring awareness to this. Another thing that you could do is start to notice the patterns. So paying attention to repetitive dynamics in your relationships. Do you find yourself in cycles of conflict, blame, and dependency? So I used to find myself in a lot more cycles of conflict. And there's friends, and I'm not gossiping, I'm just saying that there's friends that are constantly in some sort of chaos. It's constantly like, oh man, poor me. Oh man, this person's doing this to me. Oh man, this is like so hard. It's not fair. They're making me feel this way. They're doing this on purpose, right? Like they take it personally. Dependency, like, oh, I can't not do that because I have to take care of them. No, you don't have to do anything. Like if you need to set a healthy boundary because somebody's taking advantage of you, you're allowed to set a healthy boundary without feeling guilty, right? Like we almost want to take on this hero role in the dependency role because it makes us feel like we're helping somebody, but really you're just enabling them to continue poor behavior. So if you're finding yourself conflict, blame, dependency, conflict means you're sinking into a victim role. Blame means sometimes you're sinking into that villain role. Dependency means you're sinking into that hero role. So just starting to notice some patterns that you have. Taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is huge. So acknowledging your role in the drama triangle, take ownership of your actions, thoughts, and emotions is so, so important. So in our early relationship with my boyfriend, there was a moment where we had a little fight. And I instantly like I said, these are things that are done on a unconscious level. It's very like we don't even realize we're doing it. It's just something that we default to. We're in a fight. He starts to get mad and I instantly go to tears. Like I didn't go to like trying to understand where he was coming from or trying to diffuse the situation. I instantly went to tears and like storming off and like, poor me. This is like blah, 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 blah. And then in that moment, because I had been doing this work on this drama triangle, because I've talked to my therapist about it, I was like, ooh, I just went to default into a poor me victim mentality instead of trying to stay above the line and work through this conflict together. And so we had that conflict. We ended up talking about therapy. But it was something that was very important for me to take responsibility for my role in that situation. Like I was choosing to sink into a victim role and I was choosing to sink into and like allow myself to be a victim when really I wasn't. Like there really wasn't a reason to it. And I had to take ownership of that. Like I was feeling this way. My actions were this way. My emotions were this way. And that was all me. That was all my decision. That was all on me to be able to regulate that. And it was not his fault. So really taking responsibility of that. And I'm not saying that like people aren't mean, right? Like there's things that happen. There's things that's like people do affect our feelings. People absolutely do affect our feelings. Like to say like, oh, you don't worry about it. The people don't affect your feelings. If somebody's mean to you, it will affect you. But it's that when we're talking about the drama triangle, we're either seeking people to be mean to us, like we're almost like trying to get them to be mean to us so that we can be the victim, or we're taking things way too out of context or way too personally to try and spin it into being the victim. So like, absolutely, if somebody's being mean to you, set the boundaries to not, which is the next one, actually, that you can do to help you on this, is setting boundaries. So establishing healthy boundaries to protect yourself from being pulled into dysfunctional roles. If somebody is trying to get you into the drama triangle and choosing to be mean or aggressive, or they want to enable you, you have to be willing to set those healthy boundaries and not put yourself in dysfunctional relationships anymore. You have to be able to say, like, no, this is not acceptable for me. I don't want to be in this types of role. And either you will treat me in a more appropriate way, or we don't have to continue our friendship. But I'm not going to allow myself to be a victim of this. I'm not going to choose that pattern, and setting those healthy boundaries to keep you with healthy relationships, because a lot of times people don't even realize they're getting pulled into the drama triangle. They're down here and they're just wanting to pull you in because that's comfortable and that's what we're doing in life. That's how we have lived. And so when you say, no, I'm not going down there, they have the opportunity to, you either have, you give them the opportunity to step above the line and not sink down into that. Or it's an opportunity for them to remove themselves from your life, and you get to stay above the line. So you are responsible for the relationships in your life, and you have to be willing to set those healthy boundaries. Practice assertiveness, communicating your needs, concerns directly and respectfully. One of my biggest pet peeves in fights is always never, kind of that blame game. Like, you're always on your phone. You're never around. You're always, you're always so selfish, right? Like these really like broad statements about somebody. And when you're practicing assertiveness in your communications with people, because you're still going to have conflict in your life, there's still going to be disagreements, there's still going to be like things that aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect. But being able to communicate your needs and concerns directly and respectfully, instead of saying like, you're always so selfish, you say, when you did this, I felt this. So when you were on your phone, I felt like we missed an opportunity to connect. When you did this, it hurt my feelings because I thought we were gonna blah 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 blah. Or when we whatever. But when you're sticking to the direct concern is so much more powerful and will result in so much more growth than being like, you did this, you're such a poopsicle, you're whatever, right? Like, so communicating your needs, saying like, I really need a kiss before you leave in the morning, and when you left without giving me a kiss, it made me feel sad. But just directly communicating your needs and your concerns, and doing that in a respectful manner, talking about the situation at hand, and not bringing in character, like not bringing in their character, not bringing in blaming them, not bringing in attacking type situations, because once you get into that blame, attack, whatever, you're actually the villain. You're the villain, and you're choosing, they're having to choose to pull themselves above the line and not become like this victim and want to attack back. But you're bringing them into the cycle. So bringing communication, not allowing yourself to be the victim, to be the villain, to be the hero. And then also focusing on solutions. Instead of dwelling on the problems or assigning blame, work together to find constructive solutions. Again, this is something that when we communicate well, the idea is to not have these types of fights anymore, right? Like, if you're addicted to the Karpman Drama Triangle, you subconsciously are like, man, I want this to happen again because I like having the drama of it. I like being able to complain about it with my friends. I like being able to like be a victim and poor me and blah 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 blah, or I'm justified in whatever because they're being this or whatever. But when we can practice that assertiveness, communicate our needs, concerns, and do this respectfully, then we can really focus on the solution. So like, hey, like the example of giving me a kiss before he leaves for work, like that's just something, that's a random one. That was something that he easily agreed to. But one time he didn't do it, and I was like, hey, we agreed that you're going to give me a kiss before you go to work, and when you don't give me a kiss before you go to work, like, it makes me feel sad. No, I don't know. It really wasn't that big of a conflict. But the point is that focusing on solutions. So like, hey, when you do this, it when this situation happened, it made me feel this way. And what can we do to better understand each other so that I don't feel this way again? Like, not necessarily that they don't do that behavior again, but like, what can we do to make sure that like it doesn't result in this same feeling or this same same result? Because sometimes it could be like, oh, that had nothing to do with you. This is what, however, you just, let's understand, let's have better communication, better understanding to be like, oh, when he does that, it really actually has nothing to do with me. So therefore, there's no reason for me to feel that way. And now there's a solution, because now I know that that can happen without me taking it personally or feeling like it has to do with me. Or like, hey, you know what? You're right. I probably should have handled that a little bit better. How can we address this so that that situation doesn't happen again? It is solution based. If you want to be in a drama triangle, if you want chaos, if you want to be sick, you will continue to victimize yourself. You will continue to blame other people. You will continue to seek other people to fix your problems. But if you truly want to be healthy, you want to be healthy in your recovery, you want to be healthy in your relationships, you will remove yourself from the drama triangle and you will focus on solutions. I was really, really good at being a victim in my addiction. All I wanted was for people to feel bad for me. Like, if I can get them to feel bad for me, I could continue this cycle and be sick for the rest of my life and probably die from alcoholism, and I'd feel completely justified because I have enablers tell me that it is hard and poor me, and alcoholism is real. And then I have victims making me feel bad about myself. And then I was a victim. I mean, like, I was in all of it, right? But when I took accountability for my actions, like, hey, you know what? I'm drinking myself to death. I'm going to set boundaries around my drinking. I'm going to practice assertiveness and say exactly what I need, which means no alcohol in the house, which means I need to start working on things that are I'm going to personal development, therapy, all the things, like setting assertiveness of like what my needs were and how I was going to do those things respectfully and not like in this drama triangle anymore. And then I focused on those solutions. So to be able to get sober, I had to get out of the drama triangle. To be able to have a healthy relationship, I had to be willing to get out of the drama triangle. To have better relationships with my kids, I have to be willing to get out of the drama triangle. And so anything in your life, if you are sinking into the drama triangle to co-sign your own bullshit, you're going to continue to find yourself in chaos. You're going to continue to find yourself in conflict and feeling helpless or like you're constantly having to rescue other people because you're choosing to not set boundaries and you're choosing to sink into the drama triangle. Bam! Mic drop. No. So what I encourage you guys to do is to just start really bringing awareness. So identifying the roles that you're playing, notice the patterns, take responsibility for your part, set boundaries as needed, practice assertiveness, and then really stay solution focused on not causing drama, not talking outside your relationship, not choosing to be a victim in your life, choosing to find solutions so that you're not continuing these same types of cycles. If you found this helpful, make sure that you are subscribed to my weekly newsletter, because I will give more information on different things to help you level up your life and your recovery, and resources to help you on your journeys to become addicted to quitting all the things that no longer serve us. This is Gentry signing off. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Addicted to Quitting, where we level up by becoming addicted to the benefits of quitting habits that no longer serve us. Much love to you all, my favorite quitters. Keep going and keep quitting.